Let's move
Yes.
to the war. What started the war? So you had Vic Arena and his faction on one side. You had Persico Powerhouse on the other side. What started the war?
Right.
I'm saying what started the Colombo
Junior
War? What was the start of it?
is the boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, Persico's the boss, like you said. He gets 130 something year sentence.
Okay.
So a lot of people thought, and it's arguable, that he should have stepped down. Okay. But the rule of Cosa Nostra is you're a boss until the day you die, the day you step down, or the day every single captain votes you out. That's not going to happen because when you become boss, the first one you make a captain is your son. Then you make your brother-in-law the underboss, and your cousins are captains. Right. So you're going to surround yourself with loyal blood, people that are never going to turn on you. Okay. Then the politics, you make other captains in other powerhouse areas to keep them all happy.
Correct.
So when he went away, he doesn't nominate, he names Vic Arena, who was a good fellow for only about 3 years, to become the acting boss.
Wow.
Now, there could be a calamity of errors. I remember Greg saying that he's too weak to be a boss. And he proved that by listening to others put things in his ear. Like Vic Arena, now that he's acting boss, only has to answer to one person, and that's Junior Persico. But John Gotti came along and said, you should take this whole family over. We'll back you. Joe Scopa, who eventually becomes the underboss, grew up like best friends with John Gotti. They were real tight. So they had a little motive of their own. If they would have won the war, Joe Scopa becomes boss. Now they have 2 votes on the commission. That's the ego in that trade. Just want to run the world. Okay. Yeah. Forget the rules that evened everybody out.
Correct.
So now what happens is Vic has the consigliere, Jimmy Angelina, go poll all the captains. And he says, convince them to come over to our side. They considered Greg the elder statesman in the family, even though he wasn't an official captain at the time.
Yeah.
They went to go to him. And I was at that meeting. I watched Jimmy ask,
which
side will you take? Yeah. If Vic and I was, let me explain.
Yeah.
They sent somebody to the house. Greg was sick. He just got back from the hospital.
Yeah.
And the guy that came said he'd like to see you. So I drove Greg to the club that Jimmy had. I walked in. I told the fella Chips, I said, let Jimmy know that Greg is outside. Yeah. So he says, bring him in. I said, I don't think he wants to come in. He's not feeling real well. Yeah. So Jimmy comes walking out. I walk out with him. I'm about to walk away. I have no right sitting there with Greg and the consigliere.
Yeah.
Greg says, hey, Jimmy, you don't mind if Larry stays. He was always sharp like that. He was going to make sure there was a witness to everything that happened.
Correct.
So I stood there, leaned on the car. I didn't overly, but I heard what was going on.
Yeah.
And he asked him, if Vic wants to take this thing officially, will you back him? So Greg stayed back and he played the middle. He says, nah, I'm just, I'm lucky to be alive. And he was. He had wound up with the AIDS and all those operations. So he says, I'm just going to stay neutral. Wherever the chips fall, I'll fall right in line. Yeah. So he's saying he's not nothing to do. He doesn't care.
So he pulled us. He pulled Switzerland. Got it. He's like, I'm Switzerland. I'm neutral. Wherever's in power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as soon as we got in the car and started driving, I asked Greg why he didn't declare himself, because now I know him well. This is a lot of years into the life, so we can always jump back and forth. And he says, well, Larry, if I would have said yes, I'll take Vic's side. And Jimmy is speaking on behalf of the true boss, Junior. Junior will say, take Greg out. If he says, no, I won't go against Junior, he's our boss, Vic's going to say, take Greg out. Because they all knew he was the main guy to have. He was the oldest, the toughest, the one that had been through 3 wars already, so it wasn't going to phase him, another war, which it didn't. So Vic now has Jimmy Angelina killed. And he tells Junior Persico, Jimmy was polling the captains. He didn't tell him it was on his order. And this is the treachery. And he was looking to take over the family. I took him out. Junior thinks he did the right thing. He was a rebel. So now he puts Carmine Sessa, who grew up under Greg. So that was a little, he was thinking to appease Greg. Oh, Carmine's the consigliere. So he asks Carmine to do the same thing he asked Jimmy to do. Go get the captains to come over. So he comes over to Greg, and I'll never forget, Greg just busted out laughing in his face. He said, he's going to do the same thing to you he did to Jimmy. You're not going to get all the captains to come over. It's impossible. So now Carmine panics. He goes to hit Vicarina. Okay? He brings 2 or 3 other guys in the car with him. And that's another mistake, Calamity. If he really wanted to make that move, he should have had Greg in the car with him. Vic would have been dead that day. They pulled up, and Vic saw them, and they ran away. So to this day, I says, okay, so he saw you. What's the difference? You don't want the guy to see you while you're killing him? I mean, what is the difference? You should have pulled up. You were 4 guys. He was 1. So, I mean, I never understood that. So anyway, they run away. Now they're in hiding. So there's about 2 or 3 weeks where Greg is calling them rebels. They tried to kill me. Meanwhile, he was the rebel. But he's getting it out there, and because they're hiding out, they look like the rebels. And I remember Greg telling them, you guys get back here. Get to your clubs, run your business. Don't go hiding because you look wrong.
Yeah.
It still took some